What's up, Nerdyverse? I'm Daddy Louie, and in this video, we are taking a look at a game called Paragons, Trials of the Chosen. So stick around. Before we get started, if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you subscribe for more content and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. Paragons is an upcoming Kickstarter launching on November 24th. This game is by Midwinter Mages. It is for 2 players, ages 13 and up, and takes around 20 to 30 minutes to play. This is an expandable dueling competitive card game. If you're unfamiliar with expandable games or living card games, they are similar in a way to trading card games in that you have a collection of cards that you can choose from in order to create decks and stuff like that. However, there's no blind packs and no trading like in a trading card game or collectible card game. These expandable card games or living card games come with everything already listed, so you know exactly what you're getting, and everybody gets access to the same stuff. So there's no chasing rare cards or anything like that. The game is mostly about competitive play, so it takes out the randomness of buying blind packs and hoping that you get good cards. Players choose 2 avatars to fight with. And then they fill their deck with equipment and abilities and stuff like that. There's no creatures in this game, no minions. It's just the avatars, their equipment, and their spells dueling against each other. The first player to take out both of their opponent's avatars or to cause their opponent to no longer have cards in their deck to draw wins the game. There's no RNG in this game whatsoever. There's no shuffling of the cards. When you build your deck, you are building your deck in the order in which you want to draw the cards. So you place all the cards in a deck that you want to have in the deck. It's 20 card decks. And then you also order them from your opening hand through the remainder of the cards that you want to. So there's no randomness in this game whatsoever. But is it good? Well, if you join me on the table, let's check it out. All right, well, there's a lot to talk about here, so let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, this is a prototype copy, so you'll notice that some of the cards aren't cut correctly and some of the art is not finished, but that's okay. The gameplay is perfect just the way that it is, and hopefully the developers will bless me with a final copy once they're done with it. So let's quickly look at the tokens and the dice. These are not finalized. I think they're going for wooden tokens and some more special dice. These are used throughout the game for a couple of different things, but really not important in the grand scheme of what we're looking at. What we really want to see here is the cards. So like I mentioned in the intro, each player will select 2 avatars. Avatars come in different disciplines. So there are different disciplines in the game. You have chivalry, divinity, pyromancy, demonology, brutality, marksmanship, shadow, and chronomancy. And I believe that's all of them. Did I say divinity? If I didn't, divinity as well. So when you're making your deck, once you have selected your avatars, you will look at the bottom of the cards. It will tell you what their disciplines are. Like this avatar here is chronomancy and shadow. And your deck, when you're building your deck, this character, this avatar can only play cards from their divinity. So that will help you with deck building. There are single divinity avatars and there are dual divinity avatars, and as you can see here from the other cards, there are single divinity cards and there are dual divinity cards. This is just the dual divinity cards here, so there's a lot of different choices, a lot of different things to choose from. So there are 3 different types of cards in the game. You have the avatars, which I just showed you. You also have ability cards and you have equipment cards. Ability cards, your avatar can play any amount of ability cards as long as it matches their divinity cards. Equipment cards work a little differently. It basically is, imagine the character being a real life person. You can have 2 one-handed items or 1 two-handed item. You can have 1 accessory, and you can have 1 piece of armor, unless there is some combination of stuff that allows you to equip more. And then, like I said, you can have any number of different ability cards. So the game also came with 2 starter decks. Those are the ones where I'm going to use to teach you how to play the game. One starter is these 2 avatars here. One is Chronomancy, and one is Chronomancy Brutality. So the deck is dual divinity there, and then the other one is Chivalry, and the other is Chivalry Divinity. So again, another dual. But again, if you wanted to, you could go as high as 4. Like if you wanted to make a deck with these 2 characters, you could do that. You're looking at 4 different divinities, which is going to make play a little tricky. But I think that's pretty interesting because, there's going to be a lot of different synergies, a lot of different combinations to unlock and stuff like that. So if you're really into deck building, you are going to really appreciate this game more than if you're not. And the avatars are dual-sided cards. When an avatar loses all of their health, this guy here is 15 health, they don't die, they become fallen. They flip over, and they unlock a ultimate ability once per game. That's usually very, very strong. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and set up for a game using these starter decks, and I will show you how it plays. Okay, so like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there's no RNG in this game, so we don't shuffle any deck. Each player is going to draw 5 cards, and they're going to know what those 5 cards are because they set the cards up in the order that they wanted. Each round, up to a maximum of 10 rounds, although the game can go past 10 rounds, it's just 10 is the maximum of energy that you can gain from the round count. So the energy is also not RNG, so you know how much energy you're going to have every turn. So in round 1, each player is going to have 1 energy. In round 2, each player is going to have 2 energy. Round 3, each player is going to have 3 energy. Again, up to a maximum of 10. The game can go past 10 rounds, but 10 will be the max energy that you'll be given from the round count. And that's done during the start phase. So there's 3 phases in each round. The start phase is basically your maintenance phase. So if you have any start of the round effects, that's going to happen in the start phase. You're going to set your energy. You're going to ready any cards that were exhausted from the turn before. And each player is going to draw 1 card. And like I said, also at the beginning, if a player cannot draw due to their deck being empty, they'll lose the game right then and there. That's one of the things that happens. Initiative, it allows you to take the first turn each round, and it can be used by certain card effects to your advantage. Normally, you're going to want to have initiative, but, there's some instances in which you may not want to have initiative. So during your turn, during the main phase of the game, which happens after the start, there are several actions that you can take. You can take one of several actions, and then you pass to the next player, pass being one of the actions that you can take. Once both players have passed consecutively, the round ends, you go into end state, and then a new round begins. So you're going to go back and forth alternating activations during the main phase. So one thing that you can do is play a card. So if you're playing a card, you need to look at the left side of the card here to look for an energy cost. So this little crystal symbol here, that's going to give you the energy cost. There are ways to get more energy. You can, as a separate action, you can activate your avatar to increase your energy by 1. So in this case, I could exhaust this avatar here to go up to 2 energy. In which case I could then, if I wanted to, I could play maybe something like this, Strength of Faith. This is an ongoing ability. Remember, you can play as many abilities as you want. So I could play this on Thane the War Cleric here, and it gives me +1 +1 strength. So my strength goes from 1 to 2. And then it also has an ongoing effect that says whenever one of this avatar's cards exhausts, deal 1 damage. So it's really good. I like that card a lot, but we're not gonna do that just yet. So that's one of the things you can do. You can play a card by spending energy to play the cards out of your hand. You can also trigger an activated effect. So you'll notice that there are effects on a lot of different cards that will tell you to, do something and then something happens. So, for example, looking back here at Thane the War Cleric, he has an exhaust ability that says basically exhaust him to exhaust target equipment. So, as an action, if, let's say, for example, this guy over here had this weapon that was ready, I could exhaust my cleric to exhaust the weapon, in which case he would not be able to attack with it because it is exhausted. So activating an ability is another action that you can take in addition to playing cards. You can also declare an attack. So again, if my cleric here has a hammer, which he does, it has 1 strength, and it's 2-handed. It says whenever a card is exiled, deal 1 damage. So exile means to basically remove from the game, and there's lots of different effects that have it. For example, I have this ability here that says mend. It says restore 3 HP, exile this card. So, on my turn, if I had this weapon equipped, then when I exiled this and played it, it would deal a damage to something. So that's how those little effects and the little synergies that you start to see work together. But again, you would need to have a weapon equipped in order to attack with it. But if your avatar has a strength, they can attack as well. So I have a strength of 1, so he could just straight up exhaust to perform an attack as well. So declaring an attack doesn't just have to come from equipment. It doesn't have to just come from an ability. It can come from anything that has a strength value shown on it. All you have to do is exhaust it and declare the attack. Now, in this game, there is return damage, or rhetorical damage, I think is what it's called. So if I have a weapon and I go to attack another weapon, because I'm trying to get rid of it, weapons have health as well, they deal damage to each other. The only time that doesn't happen is with avatars. So if my avatar attacks a piece of weapon, for example, the avatar doesn't take damage back from that. But equipment to equipment would take that rhetorical damage. You can also channel energy, which is something that I just told you. You exhaust one of your avatars in order to channel the energy. It does cost an action to do, but it's a good way, especially early game, to get more expensive cards out onto the table early. And that's called channeling energy. And then the last action that you can take is passing. So early in the turn, you may want to pass in order to see what an opponent is going to do. Or when you're done with all of your actions, like you have no energy to spend, both of your characters are exhausted, there's just nothing else that you can do, you pass to your opponent. If there's nothing else that they can do, they pass, and then you go into the end of round cleanup and end of round phase before starting the new phase over with. If you are familiar with trading card games, Magic the Gathering, you're going to be familiar with a lot of these terms that I've said, exhausting, declaring an attack, spending energy, things like that. If you're not, if you're a more novice gamer, you will, I don't want to say you will struggle, but you may not, things may not click as easier for you as they would for a more experienced gamer. When I first heard about this game, and I was talking to the designer, the creator of the game, I thought to myself, man, this is going to be a big learning curve for a non-gamer. The more I play, the less I see of that. A newer gamer may not get some of the synergies, and when building a deck, they may not see things right away. But the more that you play, I really think that the game is pretty accessible. It's got like a low, what do they call it? A low floor, high ceiling. So it has some very easy to learn mechanics. And it is pretty entry level, especially when playing with decks that are already created for you. And, if you have somebody else create the decks for you, or you use just the starter decks. But the ceiling is really, really high. So there's a limitless amount of combinations that you can do here, strategies and synergies that you can unlock. It's really quite nice. But honestly, that's pretty much everything that you need to know about the game. So you're going to, like I said, alternate activations during the main phase, playing cards, exhausting, powering up your avatars, declaring attacks to take out pieces of equipment or abilities, ultimately trying to get the health of your opponent's avatars down. Now, once one of your avatars gets down to 0 health, they flip over and become what's considered fallen. Fallen avatars have very powerful abilities on them. So once one of your opponent's characters are fallen, you really want to try and get that other character down too. You don't want to leave this open for very long. For example, here, Thane, we've been using him as our example. He has a once per game that says exhaust target avatar's cards. So that's all of their cards, and deal damage equal to the number of cards exhausted this way. So late game, if one of the avatars has a lot of cards attached to it, this guy can come in for a really, 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 it doesn't say, it says exhaust target avatar's cards, not, their abilities, not their equipment, all of their cards. So you can do some pretty big damage with that ability. And that's just one example of the many avatars that are included in this game. So, you don't want to leave fallen avatars on the board for long. You want to try and one strategy that I've kind of picked up on is getting both of a character's avatars low on health. Don't necessarily focus fire one down. Get them both low and try and take both of them out, not simultaneously, but pretty close to simultaneously. That's just one, again, of many strategies that I have seen in my short time of playing Paragon. But anyway, that's a brief overview of how to play. The strategies in here are pretty crazy, and knowing, where the cards are going to be in the stack because you're presetting them up. There are abilities where you can force an opponent to take their top card and put it on the bottom and things like that. But those are strong abilities, but they're not overly used. So for the most part, you're going to know where the cards will fall, and you're going to see, and because of that, where the cards go, just the strategies are pretty endless. But anyway, guys, that's everything that you need to know in order to play Paragon Trials of the Chosen. Paragons does so many new things that I've not seen in other games, brings a uniqueness to the genre that was missing, that is definitely needed and definitely appreciated. I think that it does have a low enough ceiling that, new players to the genre can play this game, but a huge ceiling to where, there's still so many strategies that I think will be continued to be unlocked well into the future. Different combinations, different card synergies. And speaking of cards, the art here is gorgeous. Some of the art on some of these cards are on par with the greatest art that I've seen from games like Magic the Gathering. So the art is great. The stylization of the gameplay is really, really fun. And again, the uniqueness and the no RNG really means that you are developing strategies. You're anticipating play and anticipating, the way things are going to work while you're at home on your couch building your deck. Before you even get to the table, you are developing those strategies. Now, that does exist in other games, but in this game, it's super duper important. Again, no RNG, which is really, really exciting, really fun. I can't wait to see what they do with this game, both now and into the future. If it is successful, they definitely want to bring expansions and new cards into the game. So you'll want to go over, look at the links that I have provided down in the description, and go and show your support, because this game definitely deserves a place on your shelf, regardless if you're into the genre or not. But if you are into the genre, you do not want to miss out on Paragons. What do you guys think of Paragons? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you want to see more from the Circle of Nerds, make sure you check out our social media. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, all at Circle of Nerds. Also, don't forget that we have a podcast comes out every week called The Cosmic Disaster Show. You can find that right here on YouTube or anywhere that you enjoy listening to podcasts. And for an extra bit of love and affection to us here at the Circle of Nerds, please consider checking us out over on Patreon at patreon.com/circleofnerds. Anyway, guys, that's all from me. I'll see you in the next video.